going on, guys? So today's video, I'm going to be talking about my new spare tire delete kit, train horn from HornBlasters. So this kit is insanely loud. Like, I'm very impressed. It's way louder than what I expected it to be. But this kit specifically is the out of sight, out of mind kit. So it don't hang down as far as the other spare tire delete bracket that you see a lot, honestly, where all four trumpets are hanging under the tank and the air compressor and pointing back at the truck. Or I think some people switch them, you know, they'll have 2 pointing in front and 2 pointing in the rear. A little bit of a catch with this kit that a lot of people are going to love, the kit that I have. So it normally started with a 2-gallon tank, just like the other spare tire kit. But they stretched this one just a little bit further and they added a 5-gallon tank to it. That means more honking time and more time piss people off. 10 to 12 second honk time is what they're saying. Okay, so here I am standing behind the truck, and you might notice you can see the air tank still, even on this out of sight, out of mind kit. But that's what I'm getting at. That's a 5-gallon tank. And like I said, they normally start this with a 2-gallon. So I am not mad about that. My hitch hangs down way further anyway, so I don't think I'm ever going to hit anything off that. My truck's lifted 9.5 inches, so I think we're good. But man, this thing is insanely loud. I'll show you guys here in a second. All these brass fittings is what you do the very first thing on the tank. You put everything in, the pressure switch, the gauge here, and all that. And it's all a preference on how you want to do it, or whatever works best for you. Trumpets point left and right, so there's 2 pointing right and 2 pointing left on opposite sides. So there's 1 pointing right here and 1 pointing left. So that is your air valve. So that's what allows the air to go to the horns. Those little lines there, coming off this 4-way splitter here, is they go to each air horn, or trumpet I should say. And this here is just from the tank to the air valve. And that's what your button is connected to. So there's a ground and a quote power, but it's your switch wire that you'll run up to your cap. It was kind of hard for me to do a step-by-step video on each thing I had to do to this kit. I was just trying to do everything right and just follow the instructions, and I kind of got carried away and forgot about the video and certain times of the video, but I do have some content of, you know, some steps in there. So as you saw, everything was packaged really well. They come with instructions for the train horn and the spare tire delete kit right here. First step is going to be with the tank here. We're going to put all the fittings in and all that good stuff. Really good instructions. So they got pictures and tells you exactly what to do. I got the tank installed onto the bracket here. I got my fittings in, I got my pressure switch, my gauge here, I got my air compressor mounted right there, got the air valve on. Now I need to put a hose here. Now how I have it mounted, you see that it's pointed left and right like I said. Some people put theirs front and back, where the trumpets point 2 point forward and 2 point back on this kit, so you just spin that bracket. I tried that on my truck and unfortunately it wouldn't work. But it really don't matter because, I mean, they're so loud, I don't think it matters which way they're pointing. And I did buy a new spare tire hoist on my truck. My truck's 2011, and I bought it in 2019, right after I graduated high school. And I ripped that spare tire right out, and I cranked that cable all the way up. Well, either one, it was rusted tight, or two, I messed it up because I cranked it all the way up with no weight on it. Now let's get back into it, and I'll show you a couple more things. Okay, so as you see here, this bracket was all one piece except this piece here in the center. So that piece is where my spare tire hoist hangs down, and that's what pulls it up. Okay, so right here is your air compressor. It's got a nice blade on the back side here and on the bottom. This has all provided hardware to put this together. You don't have to go buy nothing. So this had power and ground coming off of it, which the power ran to the pressure switch, with all proper connections included in this kit, and all that, everything you need is included in this kit. And then these here are safety chains, in case you were wondering. And here's my feet. So back to what I said, every truck's different. So I have a small foot and a tall foot because that's how it needed to fit in my truck. Now there is a couple things you don't want to get super tight on this kit. You want to tighten them by hand, or get a proper torque wrench. They said this only needs like, I don't know, 12 to 14 foot-pounds, I think. Don't quote me on that. But this spins right here, this swivels, and it's a moving part inside of here. So that's what allows air to go into the tank from the compressor. You do not want to over-tighten this, or you will have failures. And then all these little elbows here that you put on the horns, so this horn goes through and this brass fitting, that's all connected here, and you put this elbow on. Hand tighten these. They are not under constant pressure. You don't have to Teflon tape these. Just don't over tighten any of this. You'll have problems. The trumpets are really hard fiberglass, but you still don't want to over tighten them, especially on this front, the front bolt and nut here, because you could probably crack them if you over tighten them. Oh yeah, and this little kick plate here for the air valve, you do have to put on. It was not on here, but all hardware is provided. This hose here was provided. It came in like a 12-inch section, and you cut it to length. So this bracket here, it's slotted, so this air valve will move back and forth. So you'll measure your line with this, pulled in. Measure your line, cut it, pull that back, stick it in this side, and slide your air valve back and stick it in your tank, or vice versa. Do the tank first and then slide your air valve towards you. But that hose just presses into these fittings here. And here's my air compressor again. So I did Teflon tape this fitting here. That hose, I got wrapped up higher for the air filter on the air compressor. So it does have an air filter. You gotta make sure you put that somewhere where it's not gonna suck in a bunch of dirt and stuff. And then the compressor does get hot when it is running. It don't run constantly because this kicks off at 150 psi. So it's not always gonna run until you use some air. But you don't want any wires touching that compressor. And speaking of that, so it shuts off at 150 psi, and it's got a pressure switch, all that. It tells it when to shut off. You don't have to worry about that as long as you hook it up correctly. So I recommend laying under your truck and watching your gauge and make sure it stops at 150 before you take off with it. And everything here, back to the front side of the tank here, or back side I guess technically, this big block here is the pressure switch. All these wires were already on it. Most of it's plug and play. And here's my gauge. So this, in the instructions, they had it one way. Well, I had to change it because I had it all together, mostly together, and I noticed my trumpet was hitting it. I had it up and down. And well, apparently this 90 was supposed to go on here. I missed that part. So I just turned this like this, and I put the 90 on my gauge here, which it's honestly kind of nice. I can, bend down here and look at my gauge that way. But, it is what it is. It don't have to be exact. I mean, it all works the same. But this has a brass fitting on the back side of this plastic box here. You don't want to over tighten that because you'll snap that fitting away from this pressure switch, and then you're screwed. I did put this sticker on here. They send you plenty of stickers, so pretty cool. This here's your drain. So you gotta drain water from these tanks every once in a while because they do get moisture and they'll hold water in there, and you don't want this to rust, and you don't want that going through your whole system. So that's a judgment call on you on how often you want to drain it, but at least maybe once or twice a week is what I would do. I've had it installed for 2 days, and I drained it last night and it already had a little bit of water in it. Now let me show you how I did my switch. So they have an option where you can tie into your factory horn. Well, I didn't really want to do that. You can shut the air horn off, but I might forget that and use my remote start, and it honks the air horn instead of my actual horn, because my aftermarket remote start, it honks my truck twice. So I ran the wiring up. So you have to find where you're going to put your switch or your button, your push button, and then you got to run an ignition power because you don't want that compressor under constant power. So you got to put it in the fuse box or anywhere that has power, only on key turn. And that's what I did. I ran it up to my fuse box. You don't have to do that. I connected it to my fuel pump fuse because obviously that only runs when the truck key is turned on. But I got a drain plug here, so I ran my switch or my push button wire up through here, ran it through this trim here, and mounted it here. And it's very convenient because I can just reach down and hit it. Yes, now I'll go ahead and hit it. Yeah, crazy loud, extremely loud. I'm very impressed with this kit, it's crazy. So now I've hit that a couple times making my videos here. So it's down to like, I don't know, 100 PSI or something like that. So I'm gonna turn my key. I'm gonna show you the air compressor is gonna kick on. Okay, so here my air compressor is running. Pressure is gonna go up. It's gonna kick off at 150 PSI because that's where it wants it with this 5-gallon tank. The compressor has rubber boots on it so it don't vibrate super hard. You know, they put those in there that way it don't vibrate loose. So very smart on their part. Yeah, that's the gist of it. If you guys have any questions, please let me know and I'll answer them the best that I can. I highly recommend this kit. The instructions were pretty straightforward. I struggled a little bit, like I said, getting content of each little step and especially hoisting it up into the truck because honestly I had to change those feet about 10 to 15 times because I just couldn't get it fit in my truck how I felt the most safe with it. And you know, not every truck's gonna be like that. You know, you just have to fit it the best way to your truck. And that's nothing on HornBlasters, obviously. This is a universal kit, so you're gonna have to adjust it to your vehicle specifically. You know, every truck's different with the spare tire thing. You might be able to fit it in there a little different than I did, but that's the best way for my truck. And like I said, it's got 3 safety cables on it. So if something happens to happen, it's gonna fall and those cables are gonna catch. But yeah, there you go. HornBlasters Stealth Spare Tire Delete Kit with a 5-gallon tank on it. Highly recommend it. It's a lot of honking time and it's extremely loud. Like they say, don't blow your temper, blow your horn. Let's just go ahead and finish it off.